It's been a hot minute. In my last video, I said that I wanted to be uploading a video once a week, and obviously that didn't happen. Life has been crazy, but I wanted to make a video talking about one of my current works in progress, which is Ugly Days. I talked about Ugly Days in my previous video when I was talking about all the tropes in all of my books. Ugly Days is the work in progress about the girl in eating disorder treatment, and so I decided that I wanted to make a video talking about, why Ugly Days? Why is it called Ugly Days? Why did I decide to write this book? All the fun things. Basically, what in the world is Ugly Days? I'm going to be answering those questions in this video. So why I wrote Ugly Days starts with a personal story about me. And this story starts when I was about 16. I'm 18 now. I'm not 18 now, I'm 19 now. Oh my gosh, my brain. I recently turned 19, and I keep forgetting that I'm 19. I don't know. Anyway, when I was 16, I started running into some issues with my health. I was very weak. I couldn't stand for long periods of time. I was experiencing nausea a lot. It was just not a fun time. And I was seeing multiple doctors trying to figure out what in the world was actually going on. I kind of went back and forth. At first, I suspected an eating disorder. I actually suspected ARFID, which is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. It's very different from anorexia, although it is restrictive like anorexia, but it's not, the focus is not body image. The focus is just an aversion to certain foods or eating in general. Because I had a lot of anxiety around meals, I had a lot of anxiety around eating, and part of the reason why I was having such bad health issues is I really was not eating nearly enough. We're talking, I would eat probably a few bites of every meal I had. Maybe every once in a while I would finish a meal or finish a snack. It was rare. So because of not eating enough, I started having all these health problems. So I was seeing multiple doctors, and my primary doctor referred me to a GI specialist because we thought maybe I had like Crohn's disease, IBS, something like that. So I went to the GI specialist, and they ran some tests, and they couldn't find anything wrong. So everyone was kind of stumped at this point. The topic of eating disorders did come up, but when the GI doctor originally talked about it, she talked about it as maybe being like, she thought I was anorexic. She thought I was like restricting on purpose to lose weight, which wasn't the case. And eventually I had a very fateful doctor's appointment where I started going downhill very badly. I started, hold on one second. I started to lose weight at a very alarming pace. And I had a doctor basically yell at me and say I was making excuses not to eat, and yeah, it wasn't fun. But eventually she was like, yeah, you have an eating disorder. I don't know, she said she didn't know which disorder it was. She couldn't formally diagnose me with a specific one. She just knew that I had one. And she said, you need to be admitted to the hospital, like, right now. which freaked me out a lot. I had not been admitted to a hospital since I was 16 or 18 months old when I got really sick, and that's kind of where all of this started. I was really sick when I was a toddler. I had a bunch of GI issues, and then after that, I never wanted to eat again, and there was also just a lot of trauma, medical trauma from being sick that young and having all kinds of procedures done in the hospital. And so she said I need to be admitted. I was freaking out. My parents were kind of freaking out. But then she tested my vitals, and my vital signs were all good, which meant she could not admit me to the hospital. Which, with eating disorders, especially ARFID, if you have an eating disorder for so long, your body learns how to adjust to not having enough food. So you could be basically dying and your vitals could look fine. And the doctors would say, we can't do anything for you because your vitals are fine. Even though you could be severely underweight and having negative health impacts from the eating disorder. So since she couldn't admit me to the hospital, she said, you need to find a treatment facility right away that will take you. Well, around this time, I was reading, well, I wasn't reading, there was this book that came out by Lan Cully called I Fell in Love with Hope. And it was about a group of friends in a hospital. They were all sick, and it was about the found family dynamic between these friends. And I was thinking, whenever I go into treatment, I probably won't have a found family dynamic. I probably won't get super close to anyone because I was extremely shy at the time. But I was thinking, I might still have some interesting experiences that I could write about. So I had this plan to take notes of things that happened while I was in treatment, wherever I ended up going, so that I could eventually write a book about those experiences. And yeah, my parents ended up finding a residential facility. I did a phone interview, and they finally accepted me. They told me I would be there for 4 to 6 weeks. Total lie. The treatment facility says you're going to be there for 4 to 6 weeks. I'm sorry, but they're probably full of crap. Because when I got there, I discovered that the actual average amount of time people were there was more like 8 to 16 weeks. Yeah, I felt a little bit lied to when it came to that, in all honesty. I feel like they probably just told me that to get me to not be afraid of going in. So yeah. Now, when I was there, I did actually end up forming a kind of found family dynamic with people, and I didn't think that would happen. But I got really attached to some of the people there, and they were very kind to me. They were very welcoming, even though I was quiet and awkward. And that helped me to come out of my shell a little bit more. And I honestly basically became a completely different person than I was when I first went into it. But after a while, I realized that things weren't going to be just a fun, happy time. And that was when my friends started getting better and leaving, and I was not having the same luck. So, like I said, the average was 8 to 16 weeks. It would get to that point, and a lot of my friends were getting better, which was great, and they were leaving, and they were being able to go home, and I was not making enough progress. I would make progress, get better, and something would happen, and I would relapse again and completely start from the beginning, basically. And I went through, I think, 3 or 4 groups of completely different people. Like, one group would come, I would get to know all of them, they would leave. Another group would come, I'd get to know all of them, they would leave, and I was still there for all of this. Because of how long I had been struggling, my struggle was just something that was very hard for me to overcome. It was something I had known for basically my whole entire life, was this eating disorder. It did end up being ARFID, by the way. I was diagnosed with ARFID. Hold on. I ended up actually being at this place for 5 months. Not 2 months, 5 months. So that was really hard. And I got a lot of writing inspo, I will say that, because in the time that I was there was some crazy stuff that went down. There was some drama, there was some trauma. That kind of rhymes, that's awful. We have the drama and we have the trauma. So there was a lot to write about, basically. So the title, Ugly Days, where does that come from? One time I was really, really struggling, and one of the staff members, she kind of pulled me aside. We went in a separate room so we could talk about things and talk through it. And she said that recovery is full of ups and downs. You have the good days where everything feels nice and everything's okay, and then you have the ugly days. And I was stuck in the ugly days where things were not going well and everything was ugly and it was messy and it just wasn't this pretty neat package that I had kind of expected recovery to be, because there was no way I was getting out of there in 6 to 8 months or 6 to 8 weeks. Like, there was no way. Because recovery isn't that simple. You can't just go to a treatment facility and then get better and then just be better. You don't get better that fast. You don't recover that fast. There are ups and downs. Relapses are going to happen. And in all honesty, I'm still not fully recovered. I don't think I ever will be, because ARFID is just one of those things. It's usually a lifelong struggle. It's not something you fully ever really recover from in most cases. I think it might be possible, but I think it's probably pretty rare. It's something that most people who have it, they just live with it forever, and that's probably going to be the case with me, because, like I said, I've had it for a very long time, and there are so many ups and downs even still in my recovery. But I'm stable now. I still have health problems, but they're not nearly as bad as they were before. And I'm still writing every days 3 years later, because it's a hard book to write, honestly. It's very heavy. It's very personal to me. It is fictional. It's not a memoir, so it's not 100% accurate. Everything should be taken with a grain of salt, basically. But, like, it's not factual. It is a fictional novel, even though the main character is inspired by me, the other characters are inspired by real people I met. Don't read it and think that everything is 100% how it actually was in my life. It has been hard to write. It's been a whole journey in itself, trying to get this all written and on pages. I can never speak, oh my gosh. But I'm hoping that this video will inspire some people to follow the journey and check out the book, because my dog is barking again. Anyway. Way to interrupt the moment. Okay. Eating disorder awareness and ARFID awareness specifically are very important to me. ARFID is a very lesser known eating disorder. I know at one point I was in the ER and the nurse taking care of me had never heard of ARFID. We had to explain to him what it was. And that's happened to me a lot. Medical professionals, most of my doctors have never heard of it before me. Some of the people at the treatment facility had never heard of it before me. Like, I'm not talking residents, I'm talking people who worked there. Not really sure how that happened, but, you know, I just think it needs to be talked about more, and I hope that this book allows it to be talked about more. I hope it opens up conversations. I hope it can educate people. And most of all, I hope that if anyone is struggling and they read this book, that it would help them to get through that. So that was my video for today. It was a very heavy one, honestly, but I think it needed to be made. I needed to talk about this, I think, to get it off my chest and put it out there and explain this work in progress a bit more. So I hope that I see you in the next video. I hope I didn't scare you off from my very sad, heavy video. So, yeah, I hope I'll see you in the next one.